Hello, this is Dr. Young, and I'm going to go over your week 2 work as soon as I get all my windows closed. There we go. Okay, let me just get to week 2, and I'm going to go right into the assignments and the discussions and the group project, because I've already split you all up in groups now, so you can go into the group study area and find your, there's a discussion board, and I believe you can do Adobe Connect there if you want to have a conference. They've changed some things, so they've actually updated that group study area, so I would take some time to explore that, and you should be able to see your group, and you can start to collaborate as soon as you want to. I'm going to go over that part of the actual assignment later. So we're going to talk about, we have another mini paper in discussion, a self-test. Self-tests are optional. I feel like I'm going to put notes in this area after this video is over, so you'll see the link to this video and everything. But so the first thing I want to talk about is the paper. The rubric is the same, I believe. I'm pretty sure it's standardized. But it does talk about the content specific to this paper. But I mean, it's the same format is what I meant to say. Apologize. So when you get a grade, you'll have this in an Excel sheet. I mean, not an Excel sheet. I'll have it in, I'll actually complete the points and all that. Probably in Excel, but I'll copy and paste it into the grade book. So it should look like this. But what'll happen is it'll have a score underneath each area, and comments, and then summary comments. So anyway, so what we're looking for is an analysis. Let me go back to the assignment. Read the HR incident in your text. Answer the questions. Basically, you're doing 323 and 324 in your text. And then you're going to discuss the 3 primary factors that play a role in the case, the 3 levels of control established, there's a typo there, of the Office of Federal Contract Compliance, OFCCP. Make sure that you have an intro, 2 to 3 pages of content. I hope this is not, again, saying 1 to 2. Let me just double check here. No, which is good, because it needs to be 2 to 3 pages of actual content. That doesn't include title, reference page, even though that's needed as well. So just make sure to do that. If you pull up these rubrics and use them as checklists when you're writing your paper, it's going to help, because this is what I'm going to look for. So, intro paragraph. Give me a paragraph on just a brief summary, brief analysis of the issue that's presented in the case, 3 factors that play a role in the case, 3 levels of control, content development. There's your points for that right there. And all this here is talking about substance. So you could easily read the case and tell me what happened, right? But if you're going to add more dimension to that paper, and obviously more depth, you're going to look at the issue, you're going to look at different perspectives based on research that you find. You might have a position on it yourself. That's fine, but if you're going to do that, make sure you have some evidence to support that position. That's what, a lot of times you'll see a paper and it's like, stating something that's happened. And I know this is very vague in general, but I kind of have to be, because I don't want to sit there and tell you what to write for this specific paper. But you'll see, some case where there's two sides to it, and a student will talk about what happened, talk about previous research that discusses it, or, you know, for example, with affirmative action, and this is, again, this is not based on this case or anything, but, you know, some people are for it, some people are against it. So, you know, if someone were writing a paper about that, they would obviously talk about the background, the reasons for affirmative action, how it came to be, laws that have, you know, involved with that, social, cultural issues that have come, you know, with that, you know, like, you know, what spurred that. I mean, you know, talking about civil rights and you know, women's rights and everything like that, and then you're going to come down on, you know, you would come down with an argument for or against it, and then you would want to do research and come up with supporting evidence to back up your position on that. Some people have taken both sides and definitely have research to support either side. So, I mean, it doesn't matter, but I just want you to be able to do research, analyze, you know, critically analyze the sources as far as are they credible or not, and then use them as, you know, in your arguments for or against whatever you're writing about. So, but for the cases of this paper, you're writing about this specific issue in the paper, in the textbook, excuse me, and discussing these things. So that's what I'm looking for in papers. I mean, I'm looking for more than regurgitating information. I'm looking for how that research is used. That's kind of a big deal, because what we see a lot of times is students just kind of, oh, look, here's what this means, and defining things and, you know, stating facts, but yeah, I want to see more than it. That's what substance means here. I'm looking for substance. So I'm looking for critical analysis of this case. I'm looking for someone to look at a problem and give real, valid solutions. I'm looking for someone who can present a good argument, can debate issues. So, again, depending on how you're going to approach this, you know, you're going to obviously read about the issue, and I don't have the text, and unfortunately I don't have the ebook. I have it, I have an account, and I'd rather have the ebook so I can, like, use it on here and kind of go to certain parts of the text, but I'm going to try to get that for the next paper, but all I have now is the hard copy. So you should have the same copy, but it's just nice to be able to go through and say, look at this part of the book, and, you know, I would, you know, focus on certain areas, but again, you should be reading the entire chapter anyway, so I might be able to get that in the next video. Okay, so I'm going to go back to, you know, plagiarism, you know, all that. I'm sure you've read that already. It's very repetitive on the syllabus, but it's very serious. But I haven't really seen any. I haven't actually looked at. Actually, that's not. I can't look at it now, but I haven't looked at all the scores. But it's not a very common thing. So let's go to discussion. Out of all the laws covered in this chapter, choose the one you feel has had the greatest impact and why. So that's a real subjective discussion, and that's fine, because just make sure to provide rationale as to why you feel that has had the greatest impact. Feel free to use, you know, I mean, a lot of people are going to choose legislation that may have affected them or someone that they know or care about directly. I mean, that's fine. But if you're going to talk about the law and, the details of the law, make sure to cite your text. That's about it. Oh, the self-test, sorry, almost forgot. 50 multiple choice questions. It's not graded. It's not required. It's good practice for the real test. I'll leave that up to you. I highly encourage it, but of course I do, right? But it is good practice. One thing about tests in this class, I will tell you right away, they are randomized data. They are test bank randomized. Not every student gets the same. Every student gets a different test. So, okay, well, I think that's it. I know the last time that I did a video, I talked about the OWL at Purdue site and the resources for writing. So make sure to use those. If you have any questions or concerns, let me know. I'll be happy to assist you. And now I'm going to go to the syllabus, and we're going to talk about this group project. I wanted to get started early. I didn't want to wait till the last minute. I didn't want to wait till the week of, because I don't mind if you start early. Okay, so you may have read this already. I'm just going to kind of go over it. We're talking about working in teams. We're in the group study, so you should be able to access that area. If you have any trouble with that, let me know. We just go into this group study area. Let me see here if I can get rid of that. Here's the groups. I have groups 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Everyone has 6 members, but one. The last one has 5. So, actually 3. Or no, sorry, 4. I'm in every one, just because I get copied on what you all do in your groups. So, that's why my picture's in every group. But this is your group, and you have a dashboard. So you have Adobe Flash, Adobe Connect. You might have to do these things. You might have to test your connection and download and install Adobe Connect. It looks like there's a practice room, and you can chat with tech support if you need to. You have your own discussion board. You can start, record your group sessions. You can do all of that stuff. Email your group from here. Everything should be done from this area. So make sure to find your group, and you can start posting. You can email your group and say, do you want to have a group session at whatever time? So this is like a one-stop shop for your entire group and all the work that you do for this assignment. So take some time to look over that, and acclimate yourself to the technology. If you need to talk to tech support, if you need help with the downloading the software for Adobe Connect, you can work with them. I know some people have different computers like Mac, different operation systems, so it's not always that smooth when it comes to that. So get started on that now, so that you all can be on the same page, and you can start meeting about the group project. So let's talk about the project itself. This says go to the roster, but again, you can email everyone from your group study. So if you want to do it that way, that's fine. If someone wants to go to go to that area and email everyone for actual contact info, that's fine too. However, whatever works for you is fine with me, as long as you are all communicating with each other. Okay, so the third thing is do a skill inventory. That's can be done on the discussion or on your conference, as far as you decide who's going to take which part. Set ground rules. These are all ways of, this is more of the team forming. I recommend that you set rules up front. Maybe figure out what you're going to do, how you're going to split it up, what project milestones, deadlines, however you want to do it. Those are all options. There has to be some kind of consensus, because you're being graded on teamwork, obviously, for this too. This is the real world. People work in teams. The project is delivered regardless if someone doesn't participate. It doesn't matter usually, because the project has to be completed. So someone else usually has to pick up the slack for that. But regardless, the assignment must be submitted on time in this class. And honestly, I don't really accept late work mostly. Sometimes, somebody has some extenuating circumstance. But in this case, this is a very important assignment, and I will not accept it late. Because in the real world, you just get fired. So make sure that you get this in on time. Now, having said that, I want to know if someone's not doing their fair share. And it will affect their grade. But the assignment itself must be completed. For the remainder, whoever's not, I'll deal with that. But whoever is, if the paper is not submitted, then everyone will get a 0. So I just want to emphasize that, okay? Let's see. Rules of engagement, we talked about that. If there's any conflicts, let me know. I mean, you'll have to deal with it within the team, but I kind of want to know what's going on. If there's any, of course, if there's any inappropriate language or any extremely rude behavior, I'd want to know that as well. Please conduct yourselves as professionals. Again, this is not something I've run into it before, but not very often, where someone's getting in basically a argument right on the discussion board. I don't want to see that. I need to see cooperation. I need to see that you can work in a team environment. And someone that does that, for someone to be successful, in a team environment, I have a little bit of a cold, I'm sorry. They have to be able to communicate with each other respectfully and as professionals. So, I know, that's like a disclaimer, because I know how most people, that's not something I run into very often. The most common issue is someone not pulling their weight. That is the most common issue I see. So please pull your weight. Make sure that you have, and also make sure you know what role you have. So someone might have to take a leadership on that. Sometimes it's a situation where teams are just they work well together. Some teams I've seen, they need a leader, someone that's kind of directing everything. Whatever works, but I think the most important thing is that you all need to communicate with each other and get a feel of what your strengths and weaknesses are first and early. Okay, so I think that any questions, you can text me and I'll get back with you quickly. But with this assignment, I'm very conscious of text me if you have a question. I would rather you just go ahead and send me a text if you're actually working on it, your project or your portion of it, because I can text you back quickly and get you the answer that you need quickly so that you're not waiting around, because I'm not online all day. I'm online, and I'm not even on every day because I have days off. But if you text me, bam, I'll give you an answer right away. So please bear that in mind, because I am available by text. That's how I can be available to students the most. And pretty much constantly. So just keep that in mind. Project content. So, this is about a hypothetical human resource department of your own design. It can be written from the viewpoint of a new company that is just starting or one that already exists. It's global, and you get to be creative in style, form, or format. So here are the minimum requirements. Minimum. That means you got more that you want to add, you go right ahead. If you want to get real creative with visual appeal, you go right ahead. You want to add something that's not on here, whatever. So the first is you introduce your HR department, its makeup and structure. That means organizational structure and where it is located in the organization, which means you're going to need to probably give me an organizational chart that shows me that. Code of ethics. And that means the multiple relationship. Code of ethics. How does that involve the organization? How does that involve the community? How does that involve your vendors, suppliers, etc.? You're going to need to mention that as well. For example, Apple. Well, there were some problems with their, outsourcing their parts to China who had poor working conditions. So I need you to address the fact that you're going to have suppliers, and the company that you have is going to have some kind of supplier or vendors, and how does your code of ethics extend to them? Mission statement, vision and vision statement, and pretty much, the mission statement should represent the HR department and not the overall organization. Okay, so that's, specific to your department of HR. Organizational Strategic Human Resource Plan. And that's in Chapter 4. And you're going to create your own based on this company. And then a job description, a basic component of a job description, and provide a fictitious position to be filled meeting all basic components. So, in that case, you might have a job description template. Something that you kind of use for all your positions. You customize it to look, but you're going to actually in this case provide an example. You can pick recruiter, you could pick any HR position, and then give me an example of a job description. So really you're just giving me an example. But you know what you might see a template on different positions within the same company that have the same style, look, structure, etc. That's what's meant by the basic component there. But in this case, you are going to make an example one, so just go ahead and do that. Prepare an organizational career development plan, Chapter 7A. So you're gonna create a career development plan. You can. This one is organizational, so it would have to be some kind of generic template in a way, because if it's organizational, it could be any. It could be a career plan for any kind of position. So I will have to say I'd probably just go ahead and create one example of one specifically. Prepare performance appraisal process. Now that can be a very generic, it should be standardized across, any position. What's the entire process, starting from, your forms, the steps, how often they're given, what are you measuring on, all of that. Just want an outline of the actual process, the steps. They would be different between jobs as far as content, but what's the process you would go through? Rudimentary organizational benefits and compensation program. That should be kind of self-explanatory. Healthcare, I don't know, paid time off, all that stuff. This is something you're making up. I'm just throwing things out there. Whatever you want to come up with. I guess there's so many different options, but You can talk to your team about that. You can just come up with a benefits and compensation program that you would offer a new hire. That's basically all you're doing there. No APA. Well, no APA and a PowerPoint, really. Well, that's not necessarily true, because you do need to provide a reference list at the end if you're using any information from your text. So I don't agree with that. So let me just go on here. And if you're using Word, any sources should be cited. It doesn't have to be structured in APA format. I think that might have been the point there. But if you are using sources, which you probably will be, I mean, you're not probably going to get all this from your imagination. I need a reference slide at the end. And if it's a paper or Word doc, I need a reference page. But I mean, as far as how it's set up otherwise, it doesn't have to be APA style other than that. And I also need to know where in the paper or the presentation you're using the source. So you will need an in-text citation. So, single report. This is one report. Everyone, it says here, it looks like it's broken up here. These are the 8 things I just went over, but just remember that there's only 5 of you, so somebody's probably going to need to take 2 sections. I mean, sorry, not just one person, a few people. So I don't care how you divide it up. Just divide it up amongst yourselves and make sure to cover every area. I don't care if it's in Word or I don't care if it's a PowerPoint. I will say this. Because there's not a requirement, because there's not a requirement of format, I'm not going to give more points for PowerPoint. So, I'm going to leave that up to you. Because I don't want to set the, I think that PowerPoints are more professional looking if they're done right. But I'm not going to give more points for that. That's not where the points are going to be earned here. It's really going to be all about teamwork, everyone doing their part, covering all the content, and doing it well. I don't have a minimum length. Honestly, I'm looking at content. I'm looking at, are you giving me what this, are you going into enough detail here? I would really take the time to go in depth for each one of these. That's going to get you the best grade. But I mean, that's very subjective, rudimentary organizational benefits. Okay, so I want to see benefits and compensation. I want to see different things that kind of what the market is offering right now. You might want to see if there's any kind of, if you do for example, if you do research on benefits and compensation, you might find that some organizations are offering unique kinds of benefits. You might add that in there too, to show me that you're up on the current market on the, attracting employees with these kind of benefits and compensation programs. It's going to tell me, oh, look, along with the kind of standard things that normal organizations will give, this student has been researching what's going on currently in the market right now. So that's kind of things I'm looking at. So that's just an example. I gave you one example of how I'm seeing this assignment. Okay, so source, I'm going to, I should just take this. I really do want you to be able, I'd really rather you have some kind of source. Even if it's your text, you need to at least cite that. I would prefer you do more research than that, though. Nope, that's not the page I want. That ain't either. Okay, there we go. Online tutoring. If you need any tutoring help with these papers, make sure to, and projects, make sure to use the smart thinking. Basically what they let you do is you can submit a question, you could submit your writing for feedback. They will, I think they will mark up your document. So I just wanted to throw that out there, and I'm not saying anyone needs it right now. I haven't graded papers yet, so I don't really know. But make sure to you have a resource if you need it. If you find that you need it, by all means, go ahead and I would utilize it. So that's really all. Here's my text again. You can text me there whenever you want to. I'll be happy to, like I said, I'm pretty responsive there. I don't want to make it seem like I'm on call, but I try to just, because I'm not, but I mean, I do work late at night, and I do try to respond to those texts as soon as I can. Alright, so I know this video was kind of long, but we did have the group project, and I felt like I needed to cover that in detail. Again, here's your group study area. Click on your group. Make sure that you have Adobe Connect. Email your other team members. Get together, have some conversations about your strengths and weaknesses. Figure out who's going to do what, and just meet your deadlines. And ask me any questions as you go. And if there's any problems, I need to know that too. And if there's any personal issues, just, contact me if something happens or if there's something wrong. Alright, well, thanks for listening. I know this is one of the longest videos you're going to hear from me in this course because I don't like to make very long videos. But I felt like I needed to be thorough. So just let me know if I can help you in any way, and thanks for listening.